Welcome to the Ladies Show. My name is Andrea. This is Pamela, Sheila, and Jonna. Thank you for coming back and watching us. This is our second season, and we are so excited to be back. We have a hot topic that's burning up the charts right now with women in politics. So we have our special guest that's going to talk to us about how immigrants play their political role. And then we're also going to talk about if we actually ran our own campaign, what our message would be. But first, I'm going to start with a little bit of history because some people may not be familiar how women actually had to fight so hard to get into politics. So I'm going to give you some fun facts. So even before politics, women could not even own property without a husband. Some women couldn't do certain jobs that men have now. Even as today, there's women who do jobs that men do and still aren't paid equally. So we're still fighting for some of those rights. But the women's rights movement started in 1848. And what came along with that was a lot of different things. We could now get the same jobs. We could now receive a higher education, and we could also own property without a husband's name being on the title. But now in politics, it's definitely taking a shift. Just alone in this recent election, we had 100 new women between Congress and the Senate. That is the highest number that we've ever had to date in 2018. So I'm going to ask the ladies, what do you guys think about this interesting shift with so many women in politics? I'll start with you, Pamela.
Well, first of all, I'm so happy to be here with you ladies.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And talking about how women matter, right?
Yes, we do.
And that's a very interesting question about the roles that women have in politics and, you know, the shift that has taken place. For me as an immigrant woman, you know, it's a really, really important time because most of us come from countries where women haven't had that kind of power. And even if they have it, it's perceived. It's not exactly like innate. For example, during this last midterms, we had the Somali refugee, Ilan Omar, who won for Minnesota, right? She won the Democratic for Congress. Yeah. So she's going to Congress. And coming from a country like Somalia, she came here as a refugee. And when I read about her, she did talk about the fact that in Somalia, women could not, it was a job that would be relegated to men. So now being in the United States, the impact that being here, what it's done for her, it's immense. Even though being also the first Muslim Somalian in Congress, there's two of them that won that are in Congress. There's Talib Rashida from Michigan, who's also going to Congress. Now, those two women represent the first Muslim women to be in Congress. Now, Rashida is not immigrant, but her parents came from Palestine. So now look at those two women and see the impact. When you think about the narrative and think about what's going on, what kind of impact that they could bring to the conversation and the roles that they're playing coming from communities or countries where women's roles are really not that respected in politics. So I think that is a big shift.
Definitely, and much needed. What do you think, Sheila?
I think that it is probably well overdue. I think that the impact is going to be widespread because not only the number of women that have been who are in office now, but their experiences, being aware of what the needs are. Making sure that that they're going to be, I want to believe to the best of their ability, like seeing a full picture and knowing a lot of the different areas now where there's such a need and that they have an opportunity to have an impact on. So it's going to be huge.
Right. What do you think, Jonna?
I'm really excited about it. I think what excites me the most is that we truly now have like a rainbow coalition of women from everywhere, from the eldest to the youngest. And what I saw also is that, I think in times past, women didn't support each other in pursuing certain things. And now we have issues and we have things that concern us that we're supporting each other in. And I truly believe that the reason that we had such numbers and the reason we had the candidates win who did is because women jumped in and said, we're backing each other up, period. Right. And they made it happen.
That's right. And not only that, I definitely think that a lot of people who like you said, weren't allowed to, whether it was their belief or what country they came from or their ethnicity or their background, weren't even allowed to be in the game, right?
Exactly.
It just wasn't even a thought in their mind because of all those different factors, and now that's all been shattered.
Yeah.
So for myself, especially being a mother with a young daughter, it's exciting. And they're even on Instagram. Like 29-year-old Alexandria Cortez, who you brought up. I thought, wow, this is amazing. I mean, just yesterday, she was on Instagram and she was showing her Senate bag. She called her swag bag. Yeah. And so my daughter and I were just watching that. And I just can't imagine how empowering that is for all of our youth, period, whether it's a boy or a girl, but of course, especially our girls. Yes. So I'm going to ask you ladies, who is the person that surprised you the most that actually made it into, because I was watching all the different midterms and they were all over, and some of the facts I'll share with you guys that I learned that I didn't know this, but researching this topic was that Boston got its first Black woman ever, first congresswoman, or I never knew that. I never knew anything like that. And I was thinking in 2018, wow, their first one ever. So I thought that was huge. What other ones did you guys like, or that shocked you, or you were surprised or excited about?
Well, for me, it was not that it impressed me that much, but I was surprised actually that a state like South Dakota got its first female governor, and it's a big deal. I mean, there were so many first. But I would think that in the United States, that would not be such a surprise. Okay. You know, I mean, like if the United States is still dealing with the first female governor, and we have other countries like Liberia and other countries and the Philippines that have had female presidents. That's right. And we're still dealing with the first female governor, and it's a big deal. Right. I mean, when we think about the fact that Hillary Clinton lost the elections for whatever reason, and when you break it down, you find out that minority women supported her enormously. You know, Latina women supported her, African American Black women supported her. Most of where she lost was in the non-educated white women, especially. So sometimes you think that women would rally regardless of situation, you know, but these midterms were a little different. And you have almost 35 women, I think, that made it to the House. Yes. For the Democratic Party.
It's 38.
38, right? And counting. So, so it's kind of, it's interesting. It's like a mixed bag of nuts right there for me.
Like trail mix.
Yeah, it's like trail mix.
Okay, Sheila, what do you think?
I don't know about who, she didn't make it, but who surprised, in terms of being surprised and really made me say, okay, was Stacey Abrams. Yeah. Yes. And that one was such a mix because of voter suppression. Right. And voter suppression was so obvious.
Oh, yeah, blatant.
It was blatant. And I really believe it was blatant and purposeful.
Of course.
It was, in looking at it, it was. That's true. Planned that way, because they knew what was going on. But that one, well, it's surprising. It was the disappointment, and at some point I was just mad.
I know.
You know, just that's still happening. That you can have the voter suppression. That you could say, okay, well, we're just going to wipe your name off the roll.
Right, and play all these ridiculous games. But we're going to pick up with this when we come back from our commercial break. Stay tuned.
Welcome to our show, The Ladies. The goal of this talk show is to bring to light and discuss issues in the news from 4 different perspectives. We strive to create a consistent, high-quality show that relates, entertains, engages, and builds an honest, transparent relationship with our viewers. We hope that by watching this unique show, you feel uplifted, enlightened, encouraged, and entertained. Our mission is to use the airwaves to bring to life engaging topics, transform our viewers' lives, and bring a sense of fulfillment into every home. Thank you for watching The Ladies, and welcome to the family of 4 ladies with 4 different opinions.
Welcome back to the Ladies Show. So we're going to pick up with Jonna. What was exciting to you about the midterms as far as the women in politics?
You know, everything that's already been shared was equally exciting to me, very interesting, especially the one that happened with Stacey in her election. I was fixated to that. But I grew up in the era of the Kennedys when they were young. And so when the lady who won in Massachusetts, that was interesting to me because, you know, we all used to see Massachusetts and Boston as the land of the Kennedys, of the entitled, of the elite, Martha's Vineyard, all of that kind of stuff. So for her to break that ceiling of things there for the first time, all I could do was smile when I read it.
Wow.
All I could do is smile when I read it because I know what it meant to certain people for that to happen in that particular area of the country.
That's amazing. Okay, so I'm going to introduce our amazing guest, Pamela Anchang. She is the editor of Immigrant magazine and the host of Impact, which is on KPFK. It's a radio show that comes on Sundays at 1 p.m. And she's going to talk to us about immigrants and their power as far as political.
Well, so glad to be here again once more. And yes, immigration is something that I'm really, really excited about because I came here as an immigrant 20-something years ago. And lack of representation on media and other platforms really pushed me into creating this forum called Immigrant Magazine, a platform for lifting up immigrant voices. And in the course of the 15 years that I've done Immigrant Magazine, I have had an in-depth look into different immigrant communities to really see how immigrants impact in different aspects of American life. And of course, politics is very important.
Yeah.
And the challenging thing about the immigrant experience, as far as politics is concerned, is the fact that a lot of immigrants don't get involved. They don't get involved because, for one thing, most immigrants are concerned about their legal status. They're concerned about economics because most of us come here because of lack of opportunities. And then there's another group that's running away from persecution. For example, Elan's family came here during the civil war in Somalia. So her family left Somalia and they settled in Kenya. She was there for 4 years. And then from there, she left and came to the United States. And then when I read about her and I listened to her speak as an immigrant, I was really moved because she did not sit back and be complicit. You know, she didn't stand a chance. You know, everybody looked at her and said, "Oh, you're Muslim." There's every reason why she wouldn't succeed. You're Muslim, you're female. Forget even about being Muslim, as a female, you know, and then being an immigrant. A lot of immigrants come here and don't get integrated. They don't feel like they're part of that dynamic. You come from a culture where everyone looks like you and sounds like you, probably maybe the same religion. Now you come to a country where now you're the other. So, you know, immigrants don't get involved in politics. So I'm really hoping that with her ascension, other immigrants would emerge. I can tell you how many times I tell my immigrant folks, I say, get involved somehow. I'm involved in media. I feel like my own calling is in media. It's in educating and bringing to the forefront that we cannot sit back and be the other. We have to get involved. So now the question is immigrant representation in politics. Now, there are immigrants in politics, especially from the Latino communities, from the Hispanic communities, even from the Asian communities. So there are immigrants. Question is, how far have they gone and how far have their voices been heard and how far have they impacted immigrant causes? So that's really where the tricky thing is. And it's difficult because they don't get most of the time identified as immigrant from such and such. So we just call, you know, so it calls Zandra, Pamela, and so we don't hear the immigrant story. So I'm hoping that with what we're doing now with Immigrant Magazine and on our show on Impact, that we will be able to bring these voices to the forefront so they can be inspirational to other immigrants to come forward. Because Elan now, and even the Palestinian, Rashida Tlaib, their platforms are immigration, representation. So if you don't get involved, your voices don't get heard, and so nothing changes. We have to be proactive. So I really think that immigrants can really, really make a difference, you know, and really get more active. They are there, and there are organizations that are there, but there's none that is like for politics. You know, there's a Chila, there's Carison, there's APAC, all these organizations are there that like support system for immigrants, you know. So it's just get involved, get educated. In fact, our first episode is about the impact of immigrants at the elections. What's the impact and who is better for immigrants? Democrats or Republicans? We need to know.
Of course.
You know, we need to know. So that's a good conversation to have. It's not a one-time thing. It has to be an ongoing thing, and we need to participate.
And as far as immigrants that are definitely listening to this and want to get involved, where would they start? Where do you think they should start? Education, I heard you say.
Education is key. You know, get involved at the city halls. Get involved. Go to your council, get to the councils, you know, and get yourself volunteer. Even if something as simple as just participating, helping at the polls. That could give you, you know, like wet your feet, and then maybe you find something interesting. Ilan, I'm very particular about Ilan because I read about her. She would take her grandfather to our city hall meetings, and that's how she got interested. She realized the power of her voice. That's how she got interested.
Amazing.
There's no particular school for that. It's about, do you feel a duty and why do you think someone else should do it for you? You know, what's your duty? If you go about duty and vocation, then you will find a way to do it. But you know what? Get involved and pay attention. Listen, my husband tells me all the time, you're a news junkie. I am not a news junkie. I just feel that if I don't know what's going on, I might be voting against myself.
That's true. That's true.
You are informed.
I am informed.
Yes.
So you need to be informed. Like Americans say, stay woke.
Yeah.
You're right. If you don't do your own research and you don't keep up with what's going on, you can get lost in the sauce, as they say, because there's so much going on. And there is so much fake news nowadays that you don't know, you know, depending on what outlet you're reading from, it could be total lies.
Yeah, you might just go to the polls and put a check against something that's going to work against you.
Vote against your best
They need to read those. You got to really read the ballots.
You have to.
Really read the ballots, because you read the ballot.
And read again and come back.
Right. They didn't say that on TV. You know, to try to make you get some clarity.
Stay informed.
And I even always say read both sides. Sometimes it's not, you know, you don't want to just read from your side. Say you're Democrat, it's just Democratic, or you're or you're Republican, it's just Republican. You really should read both and then go from there. Yes. Because you will learn from both. You may not agree with the opposite side, but you will learn more and have a more rounded.
And for those who maybe language is a problem, most immigrant communities have media outlets that cater to them. You know, Latinos have newspapers, TV shows, Asians, and so on and so forth. So you don't have to watch CNN or Fox or MSNBC to know what's going on. You know, just get yourselves involved and stay informed.
I agree with you 100%. So what are some of the ways that people can stay informed? So you mentioned some of the news outlets. I love to use the internet, but of course you have to be careful where you pull that from. Anybody can write that. What are some other outlets that you like to use?
You know, talk to your friends, talk to colleagues, and ask them, because most of us immigrants, you know, the first thing that we want for ourselves is, first of all, legal status. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You know when something's not working for you, you know, so you don't want to listen to just one outlet alone. There's the internet, but be careful with the internet, you know, and go, you know, attend city council meeting, talk to your Congress people and ask them and see what they stand for. You know, it's just not one thing. It's the community. Go to you know, your alma maters. Sometimes they have information, and you know, all those postcards that come to your home, read them and read the fine lines as well. So it's really about staying informed. Media is not the only way to get informed. Read books. Right, and I love what you were saying earlier too about the local level. It always starts at home on every level. Yes. All right, we will come back to you guys in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Welcome to our show, The Ladies. The goal of this talk show is to bring to light and discuss issues in the news from 4 different perspectives. We strive to create a consistent, high-quality show that relates, entertains, engages, and builds an honest, transparent relationship with our viewers. We hope that by watching this unique show, you feel uplifted, enlightened, encouraged, and entertained. Our mission is to use the airwaves to bring to life engaging topics, transform our viewers' lives, and bring a sense of fulfillment into every home. Thank you for watching The Ladies, and welcome to the family of 4 ladies with 4 different opinions.
Welcome to The Ladies. My name is Andrea. This is our special guest, Pamela Anchang. And this is my beautiful co-host, Sheila, and my other beautiful co-host, Johanna. So we are talking about women in politics, and we are all really excited about it. And where we left off is finding out about how you can find out more information. So Sheila, how do you find more information about politics to stay in touch with everything?
Oh my goodness! I mean, it's everywhere now. I'm trying not to find out, but I do stay informed. And similar to many of the things that Pamela shared with us about how she stays informed and how a lot of immigrant women stay informed. And what I would like to ask Pamela though is, can you tell me, as we see that this is the largest amount of women who have been elected to office, and particularly immigrant women, how is it, or do you think that the current tone and tenor of the current administration had any impact on the number of immigrant women that actually said, I'm going to run for office and I'm going to do this?
Oh, how can we deny that? Impossible to deny. I mean, the narrative that's been on the media, not just the media, the administration in general, has just been, there are no better words to say, just horrendous. I mean, from the get-go, it's been literally bastardizing immigrants, not just immigrants, women.
Right.
Women in general have been so mistreated and literally abused by the administration. And I don't want to say everybody in the administration.
No, I understand what you're saying.
But we all know that leadership
starts at the head.
Yes, and leadership has really been a problem, because when the head of the administration is setting a tone that is offensive and that is cruel, to say the least. We think about what happened to the undocumented immigrants. We think about the children that were literally incarcerated in cages. I mean, placed in cages because they came, their parents brought them in here.
And they're still there.
And they're still there. And I just recently found out over 15,000 unaccompanied kids are still incarcerated.
Wow.
And because people like to say, they're being held, but they're not being held, because who's watching over these children? They're getting sick, emotionally tortured,
from their families.
So I think that all of that combined has led to women in general, because I've seen women from all spectrum, women from Republican women, independent women, Democratic women, liberal women, name it, all women from all walks of life and all political affiliations have said no, because I don't care what political party you belong to, right? Seeing a child being treated so cruelly would move you, and so I think women said, okay, it's one thing that I voted for you, but I think it's another thing when you are so insensitive, when you are so cruel, and we think about it, if you look at the Senate and look at those that made those decisions about what to do with these families. If you look at it, it's all males.
That's right.
And all of a certain particular race, typically, right? And so minority women and Caucasian women stepped up and said, no, you are not going to do this to us. Enough. So you know what you answer you? Yes, by all means.
Yes.
The tenor, the language, the attitudes and the policies have affected women, and now women realize that we have power. So we need to step up and stop waiting for someone else to do things for us. And you know what happened? There was a resounding response, because women made it. So if we just galvanized and got together to do things, we could make a difference.
And I think with that, the fact or the philosophy and the foundation on which the United States is supposed to be based upon, and what we're supposed to stand for. I think the women just say, well, wait a minute. That's not what we do, and that's not how we do it. And the fact that they say, okay, then let's find another way to make some changes.
Absolutely.
I really do believe
and the only way to do that is through the ballot box. So
Exactly.
That's right. And the inside out, like you were saying. And then also with you, Jonna, how do you find and stay in tune with all the politics that are going on? What are some news sources that you use or different websites so you can stay informed on all the politics? Because there's so much going on every day.
Over time, I've been really involved in volunteerism. I really believe in it. I do have friends or college classmates or people that I've met through business who hold office, not only in the state, but also in the areas of Southern California where I've lived. So I get on their mailing lists. I know when all their activities are going on, whether I can go, want to go. I want to know what's happening, and especially in neighborhoods where I've lived before. Like what's going on now that you are elected? What are you doing there? If I go back to that neighborhood, how will it have changed or will it have changed? Right. And so I believe in curiosity. I'm curious. So wherever I can find out where I've followed a lot of the politicians' careers since they started, and some of them I'm surprised they're still there, but they are. It just gives you information and information and information. There's never too much information that you can collect and glean from and learn from.
Definitely. Okay, so we are going to wrap with this. I have a question for all of you, so hold on to your seats. If you were running a campaign, just short and sweet though, not all your talking points, but short and sweet, what would be one of the things that maybe just one topic that would be definitely one thing that would be in your campaign message? I'll start with our guest, since she's our guest. I will start with her. I'll start with Pamela.
You were raised properly.
That's right. Amen.
Guest in the house.
That's right.
well, I'm really more than honored and flattered by this. But you know what? That's a very good question, because it's one thing to talk, but you know what? You need to put, you need to put your mouth where your what is that expression?
Put your money where your mouth is.
Where your mouth is. So for me, it would be representation. I would love to see involvement of all categories, ethnic groups, religious groups. I would love to see more representation. Definitely. So be representation, diversity, inclusion.
Love it. Sheila?
I don't know, because I don't think I don't think my calling is campaigning. So I'm a support base. So I don't know.
Okay, Jonna.
If I was to consider that, I would add to activism, curiosity, followed by courage. So once you find out or you decide this is what I'd like to look into, this is what I'd like to consider, then finding the courage and the level of curiosity it would take to get the information you need to put it into action and to go forth and follow through on that.
Right. And my first thing would be to stay off of Twitter. My second action would be, of course, inclusion. And then it would be, I have a whole bunch. Clearly, I've thought about this. And then also equal pay for women, because that doesn't burn me more than anything. That, yes, that's great. We can now have the same job as a man, but still not be paid the same for the same job. So that would definitely be, the Equal Pay Initiative would definitely be on my top 3, along with staying off of Twitter. But thank you for joining us. Again, you have myself, Zandria, our lovely guest, Pamela, our lovely co-host, Sheila, and my other lovely co-host, Jonna. Thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned, subscribe, share, like, and we would love to see your comments. You never know, we might comment back. Take care, and we'll see you again. Thank you.